Hi there. This is Heidi Cooper, and I'm going to be demonstrating um, the brain house and the hand model um, when working with and describing how to respond to trauma for a 10-year-old male child who has experienced sexual abuse for a period of years. A white male. He's got a family of five, and he this is actually based on a client, um, but so that's who I'm going to be working with. And we'll start with welcoming Jack. Hi, Jack. How's it going? Good, good. I wanted to talk with you about to show you a couple of things that have to do with hoping that they will help you um, have more self-control over your own behaviors. And we've talked about that with regard to the scores that you get when you come home from school, what the special ed team reports on your behaviors. And I know we have a lot of incentives now to work on that. And you're becoming so self-aware. So I'm going to show you a couple of things that will help you with this awareness. Dr. Dan Siegel is a doctor, a mental health doctor, so a psychology doctor, who has studied the brain response and the body chemistry and the brain chemistry for a long time. And he thinks that, and I agree with him, that when you're more aware, or you can see, like if I show you what's happening in your brain, that you have more of an ability to change it. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to show you is this brain house. Oh, here it is, my brain house. And I'm so excited. I'm not sure how the recording will come out, but I wrote backwards so you could see the brain house. We've got the upstairs brain, which is more of where the thinkers live in our brain. So this is just a picture of what we can call our brain, right? We don't have a house inside our brain, right? So we've got the thinkers are in the upstairs brain, and here's our upstairs brain in the cortex. Okay, it's the part responsible science-wise for the thinking, and this downstairs brain is our feeling and responding and reacting brain. So up down here we have alerting Annie, frightened Fred, and big boss Bootsy. So what happens when our brain senses that we're in trouble, and when things happen to you that were scary, and your body was noticing, you might have done some of these reactions, alerting Annie, or you might have been frightened Fred. But one of the things the body does and the brain does is it releases hormones, and it also changes our heart rate, so that, if we're scared and something is happening, we can fight, or we can run, or we can freeze. And we have different responses, right, to the things that happen to us, right? And really, we do all these things. Our body and brain makes this choice because we're surviving, and we make our body and brain make choices so that we can survive. And sometimes our lower brain, the feeling brain, is right, and it helps us survive. And sometimes it's wrong, because sometimes another thing that happens is when we have this kind of stress from things that are not the same as what happened to us. So, like you said, when you see people fighting, it makes you uncomfortable, and you maybe are having that stress response, right? So that's not what happened to you, but it may be causing the same response. Isn't that interesting? It's causing that same kind of response. Um, so when the lower brain isn't right, the thinking brain needs to talk to the lower brain and help it get it right. And we're going to talk about that. Okay. So here's another picture of what happens. So that was Dr. Dan. Ms. McCormick talks about flipping your lid. So this part, which is the thinkers are in here and the feelers are in control here because you're having that body reaction. And some people call that flipping your lid. And one of the things that we talked about the other day was, I don't know if you remember, noticing, seeing if you can notice and become more self-aware of what's happening before you flip your lid. Right? See what's happening in your body, what thoughts you're having. So here's another, this is the other thing I wanted you to see, was this model, the hand model of the brain, which is another way to see it so that you can change it. And maybe this will be better for you. We'll see. You might remember this. So here again is that upper part of the brain, the thinking brain, and here's the lower part of the brain, the feeling and reacting brain, right? And here's the flipping your lid. Whoa! But sometimes you can catch it before it flips, really. So almost flipping your lid. And Karen Young talks about that. So this might even be a signal. And when you start noticing this about yourself, and you can start catching yourself before you flip your lid, before you get in trouble, before you act in a way that is your lower brain instead of your thinking brain, you can start to notice it in other people. It's very interesting. So you could ask your mom or your teacher to give you this kind of signal because you might not be noticing, but they might notice that you look like you're about to flip your lid. And this could be a signal. Okay. Um, let's see. So I'm going to also, so you're aware of this. This is the thinking part, and this is the feeling part. But what can you do? What can you do to help? Let's say you start noticing. What can you do in that moment? Because that's when your change is going to happen. When you start to notice and you can do something to calm yourself down. Or, for at first it might be just lengthening the time between when you have that feeling and when you react. That self-awareness, any amount of it is going to be great. So I'll tell you a couple things that you can do. Okay, one of them is for more body awareness. Oh, here I wanted to show you that. Besides, so we had names of people that live down here. In the upper part of the house, we have Calming Carl and Self-Aware Sally. And that's the upper part of the brain. So to listen to Calming Carl or Self-Aware Sally, one of the things you can do is you're sitting at your desk. You can feel you've noticed something in the room that's maybe triggered you, and you wanna you might make a choice to be calm instead of react. So one of the things you can do is look around the room and see what you see. See what you hear, listen to what you hear, see what you hear. And maybe notice what you smell. Maybe your classroom is near the lunchroom, or maybe your teacher has a candle burning and it smells real good in there. But you can use your senses to help you use this part of your brain. Okay, this part of your brain. And this part of your brain, the upstairs brain. The other thing you can do is use breathing. One of the things I like that you do, that I think you really are tuned into this stuff, is you put your head down on your desk. And all of these things, Jack, means that you're working on telling your brain to use this part and not this part. And that's the challenge here, And I know you can do it. I've seen you do it. I'm sure the people around you have seen you do it. And let's learn about doing it more often.